My name is Victor Leadholm, and for my project I decided to make a documentary about Hammarby football. Now, I know this might not really interest a lot of you guys, but for me, it is probably the most interesting thing in the world right now. I really wanted to delve deep into the history of Hammarby and see what has really happened at the club. For me, this has been a hugely entertaining project, and it's been so fun trying to learn as much as possible about the team. I hope you enjoy the documentary.
You pick the place and I'll choose the time, and I'll climb that hill in my own way. Just wait a while for the right day, and as I rise above the tree line and the clouds, I look down. Hear the sound of the things you said today.
Före säsongen kom det fler än 30 000 supportrar för att se Hammarby slå Jönköping i säsongsfinalen. Varför tror du så många gillar Hammarby?
Jag tycker de är bra och är trogna till sitt lag.
Varför tror du så många har Hammarby som sitt lag?
Ja, för att om de inte är på något annat, måste de heja på något. Alltså blir det Hammarby.
This is my brother Albin, and admittedly he doesn't know that much about football. Barely anything actually. But even though he does sound clueless, does he have a point? Why did Hammarby get so big in the first place? Why do they have this massive following? Based in Johanneshov area of Stockholm, Hammarby was formed in 1915. Known widely as the working class team in Sweden, due to its location, the team went on to become a big fan favorite throughout the mid to late 1900s. The club went on to become the pioneers of chanting and singing in Swedish football in the 1970s, and every season more fans would come to join the party.
Ja, det har väl den ungdomliga supporter som sitter på läktarna hjälpt till med. Bland annat det mycket omskrivna Kvarnen-gänget, vilket tycks verka ett bra gäng med bra sångröster och trevligt att höra.
Hammarbys fans sjunger och något liknande har aldrig hänt inom svensk idrott. Reportrar som vanligtvis inte alls sysslar med sport skickas nu ut för att ta reda på vad som egentligen händer på Hammarbys matcher.
It wasn't hard to explain really. People found the team to be relatable, and in Hammarby, they also saw a power change for the working class people. But the chanting on the side of the pitch was also inspired. On the 29th of October 1970, Swedes got to see their very first English League game. In England, the fans had been singing and chanting for years, but this was the first time Swedes got to see what it was all about. The live broadcast was heavily featured in national media, and it became a turning stone for Swedish football and fans alike for decades to come. That autumn, the Hammarby supporters took lots of inspiration from English football, and flags, drums, and loud chants became customary things at every home game. The chants were loud, the atmosphere was loaded, and the Hammarby supporter club started growing rapidly. And with a hugely successful spell in 1970, in which the team won 11 straight games, Hammarby started to grow on the pitch as well. The official stadium at the time, Söderstadion, became the ultimate icon for everything that Hammarby meant.
Hur känns det då när vi mår så här till exempel?
Det beror på vilka det är.
Ja, det är underbart. Det känns det.
Needless to say, the team became a people favorite, and the players even started interacting with the fans. Here we have players Tom Turesson and Ron Hellström signing the brand new single Sjung om Hammarby in a shopping center. Yes, those were indeed the days. This mentality kept itself intact, and players from Hammarby always kept a close relationship with the fans. It was written in the code for the team And with this familiarity, Hammarby only kept growing as the ultimate people's team. The fans gave the players what they needed, and the players always made sure to thank the fans for their efforts. Although the team struggled against relegation for a few years after 1970, the fans always made their voices heard. And in 1976, Hammarby truly started challenging with the bigger teams. With bigger names come to the club, and with a sorted out economy, the team started to become a contender for the league title. And a few years later, the Hammarby supporter club was to reach a turning point in its history. With the recent results, Hammarby had received a big youth following. The board had been arranging bus trips to away games for years, but with the new set of followers, the official board and the older generation started distancing themselves more from the fans' activities at games. After a few incidents, including bottle throwing and an away player for shushing the Hammarby fans, the board immediately cancelled the bus trips. Out of this, the unofficial association Bayern Fans was created by the fans themselves. The leading members started arranging their own bus trips to away games, and the association quickly got a huge following, mostly by younger people. The association now has the most paying members in the country. In 1982, Hammarby stepped into its second heyday after the affectionate display in the stands that started in 1970. With the team playing very well, reaching the final in the Swedish Cup, thousands of fans started attending the games, and the supporter culture truly blossomed. Supporters introduced their very own orchestra, and with a more energetic display than ever, the fans of Hammarby even brought in their own samba band. And although Hammarby lost the Swedish Cup final against IFK Göteborg, supporters from the Stockholmian team were renowned by everyone involved, including the opponents.
Hade ni inget publikstöd alls?
Nej, det märktes ingenting i och med att deras orkester höll på.
Ja, det är ju inte att snacka om utan att det hördes. Det var ju den där man hörde hela matchen i stort sett.
Trumpeter och trumma, ja, det tycker jag är helt okej. Men däremot att koppla in det på högtalaranläggningarna, det tycker jag är fel när det gäller bortamatch.
De var faktiskt väldigt irriterade på samban och de gick och sparkade i marken och gnällde och frågade hur kan man bli insläppt det här? Det är ju inte
På Ullevi. IFK leder med 1-0, men här kvitterar Johnny Efraimsson. Och samban blir bara högre. Ingen kan värja sig.
Despite the loss, the Hammarby fans went home with a smile on their faces. To reach the final of the Swedish Cup was huge for the working class team, and the supporters were happy with what they had achieved. From Söderstadion, they all walked home.
Om det bara handlar om sång och samba så är Hammarby redan svenska mästare. Men den här gången så är det Göteborg.
But in the late 1980s, Hammarby started to struggle once more. The economy started to fall apart and there were many problems within the club itself. Hammarby sold most of its key players in need of money and everything seemed to spiral out of control. The supporters also had to pay more for tickets, which led to less fans at every game. In 1988, after a number of bad results, the team was relegated from Allsvenskan and went down to the second division. Another era of imbalance in Hammarby had started. The team managed to get promoted to Allsvenskan once again in 1989 after a miraculous 6-0 win against Karlstad. But the team was still in serious turmoil, and for the years to come, Hammarby were to struggle in establishing their name once again. A question that had been flourishing for a while was the new stadium. Söderstadion, which had been used for decades, began to show its age and the Hammarby fans were constantly promised a new home for their team. With the new economic issues, mixed with the team's struggles to achieve much, the plans were kept on hold. But in 1997, things were about to change. The team had been stabilized as better players had been brought in, and the fans were more eager than ever to see what Hammarby was capable of. The club was rejuvenated, and the fans knew that the club was going in the right direction.
Här slår han till. 2-2 i 92:a minuten. Oavgjort, men ändå fullt av både förlorare och vinnare.
A number of impressive performances from the team culminated in a sensational finish to the season. Hammarby started attracting more and more fans, and the violence in the stands from the 80s had decreased substantially. And with the win against FK Lira in the last game of the season, Hammarby was once again promoted to the top division.
Patrik Andersson gör 2-1 till Hammarby och nu var saken klar. När kroppen väl gick ut så gick även skott från omöjliga lägen in. Hammarby till Allsvenskan nästa säsong även om det satt hårt in. Tvåa i fjol, etta i år. Vad händer nästa säsong?
Ja, den så. Nu ska vi ha trevligt ikväll förmodar jag och suga på det här den veckan.
Jobbar vi Allsvenskan? Ja! Härligt!
Bayern Fans was no longer a youth association as older generations became members, and another glory day was to start for Hammarby. For the first time in several years, the team showed its prowess against major teams, and Hammarby was at the top of the league for a considerable amount of time. And even though this documentary is not about the players themselves, one key aspect of Hammarby during the early 2000s was youngster Kennedy Bakircioglu. Signing in 1999, Kennedy went on to become the most important player in the team. As he proved himself, he became an icon for the club, and the fans just couldn't get enough of the young man. He was skillful, had a fantastic shooting foot, and could take free kicks like penalties. He even got his own chant. Needless to say, his legacy was definite after only a few months in the Hammarby shirt. He gave the fans someone to rely on, a player who was admittedly too good for the Swedish league, and he soon became synonymous with the club.
10 200 kom till Söderstadion, mest för att kolla Kennedy.
Det är förväntningar, man har ju alltid förväntningar på sig. Det är klart, det skrivs mycket tidningar och allt möjligt och så fans skriver mycket och så, men det viktigaste är att jag vet vad jag ska göra på planen, det är det viktigaste.
Vet du det då?
Ja, det är klart jag vet det.
In 2001, Hammarby was about to reach yet another turning point in its history. With the economy looking worse than ever and with a bad pre-season, Hammarby was tipped to finish at the bottom of the league. But the season started in a fantastic fashion. Hammarby went on to win their first 7 games, and the squad looked more solid than ever. Although the team lost 6 games across the season, the league title was still at stake. In November that year, Söderstadion was in flames. The stadium was absolutely packed with fans, and ahead of the last home game of the season, Örgryte were the opponents.
Men när Sören Kratz gjorde entré så verkade han både lite förlägen och bekymrad. Smått undrande.
The game didn't start that well though, as the future Hammarby player Jeffrey Aubin would score with a header.
Den är bra. Och Jeffrey Aubin nickar in 1-0 till Örgryte. Det blir tyst på Söderstadion. Nästan chockartat tyst. Aubins 5:e allsvenska mål den här säsongen.
But things were soon about to change.
Då kommer kvitteringen. Det är ett anfall startar på vänsterkanten. Förarbete Christer Furst. Och in i straffområdet. Vem där? Jo, Andreas Hermansson förstås. Det är 1-1, det är kvitterat. Frustrationen på Söder är bortblåst. Hermanssons 14:e allsvenska mål ett faktum. Efter den första halvleken på Söderstadion är det 1-1.
Vi ger dem nu 1-0 liksom och inte på alerter och kommer väldigt svårt läge. Men arbetas bra in i matchen. Nu är vi med. Nu får vi se vad som händer i andra. Nu är det fight om guldet. Nu får vi se vad som händer.
Kennedy Bakircioglu var anonym i den första halvleken. I den andra är det precis tvärtom. Här, hans första skott mot Dick Last. Det skulle komma fler. 6 minuter efter halvtid. Hammarby, intensitet och tryck. Och kvar i straffområdet finns bland annat mittbacken Jonas Stark. Här, flygande nick och 2-1 till Sören Kratz, Hammarby. Kennedy Bakircioglu vinner bollen och avslutar på det här viset. Hammarby 3-1 efter 69 spelade minuter. Det är 13 minuter kvar, reducerar Hemberg. Det är 3-2 på Söderstadion. Men Hammarby grejar guldet. Hammarby vinner med 3-2. Hammarby, svenska mästare i fotboll.
Absolute ecstasy from the Hammarby fans, who had been waiting for the title for several decades. This was the very first one, and what better way to get it than at Söderstadion? After having watched rivals win the title several times, and with a lengthy roller coaster ride through the divisions, Hammarby had finally won the league title. Fans ran onto the pitch to hug the players, and some of them even carved out bits of grass from the pitch as memories from the historic day. It was truly a day for the some 11,000 Hammarby fans who visited the game that day, and the most renowned fans in the country now also had the league title. It was a golden era for the club, and the title went on to give Hammarby moral and financial strength for years to come.
Nästan 11 000 personer var med på den historiska festen på Söderstadion. Många ville ha med sig någonting hem som minne, antingen gräs eller spelarkläder.
Hur länge har du varit Hammarbyare?
Alltid. Jag föddes Hammarbyare.
Du är från Umeå men har alltid hållit på Hammarby?
Ja.
Finns det någon förklaring?
Ja, det gör det. Pappa är Hammarbyare så jag hade ingen val.
Samtidigt hade många supportrar svårt att förstå vad som hänt. Overkligt, men efterlängtat. Och festen på Söder, den har bara börjat.
Hammarby had a stroll at this time. There were no major problems within the squad, and the team had finally placed itself on the map as one of the absolute top teams. With new staff and with players growing each day, Hammarby came in second and third in the Swedish league in 2003 and 2006 respectively. It was a golden age for the club, and the players enjoyed it just as much as the fans. The team managed to capture a few awesome wins, like the one against Enköping in 2003, which ended 7-0. Yeah, there were a lot of goals in that game, so I'm only going to show you the first one.
Det känns bra, det är klart det känns bra att vinna 7-0. Det har jag aldrig hunnit med så att det känns jättekul.
The icon Kennedy Bakircioglu departed the club in 2003, but this didn't stop the team from doing what they did best. Hammarby was at its absolute peak during the years 2003 to 2009. The team enjoyed good runs in the league every year, and the team also qualified for the UEFA Cup in 2007, one of the biggest tournaments in Europe. However, not all was well, and issues behind the scenes soon started popping up. In 2008, former Hammarby player Michael Anderson became the CEO for the team. This was already at the beginning of the downfall, as the club had an economic crisis. But during his stay at the club, he made a lot of controversial choices. He crippled the manager Tom Åhlund and his role at the club. He sold players that were important to the team, and he resigned after only 1 year at the club. He was disliked by the players, the staff, and the fans, and he decided to leave the club, which was in desperate jeopardy. This was in 2009, a year bitterly inscripted in all Hammarby fans' heads. This was the year in which the team once again were relegated to the second division. After 12 years in the highest division, Hammarby was once again at rock bottom. Some of the fans were truly frustrated.
Bra insyn i Bayern jämfört med dig, men Micke Andersson känns ju som en jävla tomte om vi ska veta ärliga.
Jag undrar om Micke Andersson är nöjd med hans senaste år i Hammarby. Nu är inte han ensam, det är inte han som har styrt allting själv, men just nu känner jag otrolig bitterhet och förundran mot den mannen för vad han har åstadkommit på ett år. Vilket fantastiskt kaos han lyckades ställa till med.
Vi borde inte ligga där vi gör. Vi har spelat jämnt mot precis alla i toppen. Det är bara Kalmar som vi inte har lyckats prestera riktigt bra mot. Vi har spelat jämnt mot alla i toppen. Vi har spelat ut Helsingborg på vår hemmaplan. Vi har spelat ut Elfsborg på vår hemmaplan. Alla har sagt hela tiden, men Bayern kommer inte vara inblandade där. Vi har varit där hela tiden och så har det blivit, men det är ett väldigt konstigt år det här. Vi borde inte vara där.
It was indeed a strange year for all Hammarby fans, as the years before had been quite relaxed and good for the team. However, most fans were certain that with the form the team had shown in the past, it was going to be a breeze to get back into the first division. But how wrong were they? Most games were being lost, and the Hammarby that we all knew was gone. This emotional rollercoaster retained itself as the team constantly failed to deliver good performances, and in 2011 it had gotten really bad. After a poor season, Hammarby was at the bottom of the second division, and chaos ensued among the players and the fans. Hammarby was ready to drop down to the third division. In one of the last games of the season against Ängelholm, it was 0-0 throughout the game. Neither of the teams could change the outcome of the match, and it looked as if Hammarby were to play in the third division next season. But the fighting spirit never died in that game.
Och laget undviker, och det är mål! Sebastian börjar tredje mål! Och där är matchen slut. Sebastian Boyasens mål gör att Hammarby vinner den här matchen med 1-0. Ja, det är otrolig dramatik vi får uppleva i matchen i Ängelholm. Det kunde lika gärna slutat åt andra hållet det här.
2011 was inarguably the worst year the Hammarby fans had seen, and it now seemed as if the squad was too weak to keep fighting for a promotion to the first division. But not all hope was lost. As previously mentioned, Kennedy left Hammarby in 2003 to try his luck out in Europe. And after a few good years in Greece, Holland and Spain, he announced his return to the Stockholm club in 2012. If he had status before, he was now considered a god by the Hammarby fans. The same year, in 2012, Söderstadion was to finally be retired. As previously mentioned, Söderstadion had been an icon for the club for several decades, and many fans felt deeply saddened when the switch to Tele2 Arena, or Nya Söderstadion, was to take place. Yes, that is what most Hammarby fans wanted to be called, Nya Söderstadion. The arena can now take 30,000 people, a whole lot more than the 10,000 Söderstadion could take. So it was a welcome addition for most Hammarby fans. But in 2014, the new manager Nanne Bergstrand came to power. He had been a renowned manager for years and had brought glory to Kalmar FF by carrying them to their first Allsvenskan league title in 2008. He had his goals set out clearly for Hammarby: get promoted to Allsvenskan and do it this season. And the team played a fantastic season. It was as if everything went on rails, and the team once again looked like a team capable of anything, and the points kept racking up. And by November 2014, the most important game of the season was to be played. A win would mean the long-awaited promotion to Allsvenskan, and Jönköping Södra were the opponents.
Det har blivit några på frispark. Nu är han fokuserad. Nu kommer skottet. Han lyfter i mål! Ja, det är den 2 november 2014. Det är Kennedy Bakircioglu's födelsedag. Och han gör 1-0. Och just nu spelar Hammarby allsvensk fotboll nästa säsong. Men det är långt kvar. Men frisparken, den tittar vi på igen så många gånger, för den är vacker. Torstenbø, nu flyttar det bara på för Hammarby här. Torstenbø i mål. Vidare, Hammarby med Timmisela. Timmisela trampar på, ska Timmisela göra mål i Hammarby-tröjan? Ja, det ska han! Allting funkar för Bayern just nu. Amadaya Rennie som kommer förbi. Han jobbar in den här bollen till Hallenius som avslutar med att göra 5-0. Och det är bara krama om Amadaya Rennie efter det där. Och det är många som vill kramas där nere med Linus Hallenius. Hammarby 5, J Södra 0.
The dream had been fulfilled. After more than 5 years in the second division, Hammarby were now back, and the morale within the squad and the fan base honestly felt better than ever. Perhaps the fans carried them to promotion.
Det är magiskt faktiskt. när jag väl kom till den här föreningen, jag sa det innan, de är ju helt otroliga. Så de kan verkligen bli otroliga. De lever för den här föreningen, de lever för den här klubben. Det är så bara. De spenderar allt de har på den här föreningen och därför måste vi också kunna ge någonting tillbaka till de här människorna. Det är så himla viktigt att vi kan ge dem någonting tillbaka. Så att jag hoppas verkligen att de kommer bli lyckliga och glada framöver. Och det är nästan, känns så i alla fall.
So that is pretty much all the history you need to know. There will be things that I have missed, but the main events have all been explained, and I hope that you have learned something. Making this documentary has been an amazing experience for me, and it has taught me so much about the history of Hammarby. Now, towards the ending, I wanted to show you some of my own footage that I gathered on the 4th of April, which was the day for the annual march to the stadium. This was obviously a huge day for all Hammarby fans, as the team was once again in the highest division, and it was an insane feeling to walk along with 12,000 other fans to Nya Söderstadion. Enjoy the footage.
Ja, det är inget för.
Det är på engelska.
Okay, tell me.
Why do you think Hammarby is so popular?
Well, first they have one of the best football fans in Scandinavia, as you can see to the left. And for a second, they play the best football in Scandinavia, which means they're the best fucking team in Scandinavia.
Why do you like Hammarby?
Why?
Yes.
Well, for me, I mean, I was born a Hammarby supporter. At the age of 4, my dad took me to Varnen, which is a very Hammarby. It's basically a bar with a lot of Hammarby connections, and I watched when Hammarby won the title there in 2001, and I remember that I sat on my dad's shoulders waving, the Hammarby flag and all that. So I was basically born into it, and that's why I'm a Hammarbyare.
Side note, the march started at Medborgarplatsen, just like every other year. The march is initiated before the first game of the season every year.
Varför gillar du Bayern?
Stämningen på läktarna är helt fantastisk. Inget annat lag i Sverige kan matcha det.
The atmosphere is insane here. I think there are more than 10,000 people here walking on the street. I can barely even hear myself think. It is absolutely crazy how many people are We're now right next to the school. It's going to be crazy. So I'm really excited. Let's see what happens.
Just idag är jag stark, just idag mår jag bra. Jag förs framåt av kraftiga vindar. Just idag är jag stark, just idag mår jag bra. Jag har tro på mig själv på min sida. Jag har väntat så länge på just den här dagen, och det är skönt att den äntligen kommer. Väntat så länge på just den här dagen, den ger lust när den kommer. Jag ser måsarnas flykt, jag ser solglitterstans, jag ser framåt mot härliga tider. Jag ser kvinnornas steg, jag ser ögonens glans. Jag tror på mig själv på min sida. Jag har väntat så länge på just den här dagen, det är skönt att den äntligen kommer. Väntat så länge på just den här dagen, den ger lust när den kommer. Jag hör skrattande barn, jag hör slussarnas brus, jag hör telefon som kan leva. Jag hör inre musik, jag hör vindarnas sus.